Hello and welcome to the homestead. Well, it's a beautiful day. It's hot out. It's still morning, but the kids have found a great way to stay cool this morning. So we got this swing set just a couple days ago. It was given to us very graciously, generously by our next door neighbors. And the kids are having a blast.
Come on, go! I'm waiting for Ellie, go! A bullet! See a bullet.
Doesn't that water look awesome?
Yep. Go up! Hey, you wanna come? Hey, you wanna come up? I'm so wet. You wanna come? No. You come. No, wait. You go. Come. Whoa. Whoa.
Well, it's very nearly the end of July here, and we've finally stopped getting rain. I know it sounds silly, but usually July is very dry here in Wyoming, but we've had an unusual year, very wet. Winter ended late, and then let's see, it was cold in May and it was rainy in June, and now even July was quite rainy for Wyoming standards. And anyway, so things are starting to dry out. The weather was like this actually by the 1st of July last year. So we've had a month of extra moisture essentially, and you can see in the background that the grass is starting to turn more brown. That's very normal. It's very normal for Wyoming. It will continue to get more brown as the summer goes on, and then once we start getting rain again, then things will start to green up a little bit. Really, we have one shot at pasture or haying here in Wyoming, just because usually the weather dries out. But we have gotten quite a bit of work done with the chicken area, and things are growing, so I wanted to show you that now. Well, you can see I finally got the wire up. Did that here a couple days ago, finally. And we put this pallet out here so that the chickens would have some shade. And you can see there's no natural shade out here. There's no trees, no bushes, anything. So they need some source of shade, as well as it will give them protection should we get any hawks or anything coming out of the sky. A place where they can run much easier than everybody trying to hit that tiny little hole. So not everybody likes to come outside yet, but these girls sure do. It's pretty much this little group here that's always outside. And I still have to get the latch for that door. I haven't been to Menards yet to get that. And I also need to work on the roosts inside, and then eventually the nest boxes. I haven't decided what I'm going to use for the nest boxes. In my mind, I would like to use actually that old pallet that's laying over there, cut it up and use the wood from that. I have some extra from the other part of this pallet. This pallet here is actually one pallet, and then those boards on top were ripped off of another pallet. So I do have some extra boards that I could repurpose for nest boxes or whatever. I just haven't done that yet. I just came inside the chicken coop and discovered that there is a chicken dropping right on this pallet. Now I'm not going to show it. Supposedly that's against YouTube standards. However, I guess I need to be getting going on the aviary wire up here. So like I said on a previous video, this upper area, not the roof, but there's kind of this triangle area from this stringer that will go across to there. That will all be open with wire enclosing it to keep predators out. And then this lower area, I need to put a door in here in place of the pallet wall. And then because this will be hay storage, I will very likely be enclosing this area up to where that beam will be, for the purpose of being able to fill up our hay storage all the way to the top. But this is not the only stuff I have to do today, so I better move on. Well, today I'm finally going to get these cherry tomatoes tied up. I did actually 3 days ago tie up my other row of tomatoes that are over here. And you can see that I did quite drastically prune them to get those leaves away from the ground. And I don't know, this is the first year I've used the Florida weave, but so far it's not too terribly difficult to do. It doesn't take a whole lot of supplies, some tall T-posts or some sort of strong post, and I just picked up the lightweight baling twine at Tractor Supply. I think I ended up with like 200,000 feet of it or something. Years of tomato twine. And it's supposed to be UV stabilized. Obviously, it would be better to use a biodegradable, some sort of sisal twine or something, but the problem with that, in my experience, it has broken down in a season. It's not as critical if you're tying it to a panel, because you have other ties that won't break down, but because this is supporting the actual tomatoes the full length. You can see there on the post that it's tied off at the end and in the middle, but then you just weave it back and forth. So let me show you how I've done that, but I'll show you here on this new row of cherry tomatoes. Now this first line I'm putting, maybe 4 to 6 inches off the ground. And that's because I need to be able to control these stems in our wind a little bit better than I normally would elsewhere. Here at the end, tie it off nice and tight, and then head back the other direction. Now on the Florida weave, you do go kind of almost like a figure 8 on your plants, so that your plants are actually caught between 2 different strings. and that's what causes it to be a weave. Now the plants still have the ability to wiggle and bend and flex, but they have the additional support of the twine. You can see how I have it going on opposite sides of the stems. Right here. Goes around this plant and then on the outside of the next plant. And same way, going the opposite direction. Well, you can see how I have this one side completely tied up. How nice it keeps the plant standing upright. Now obviously, as the plants get taller, I will have to add additional rows of strings. But I think this will work very well for a situation. Now I did grow up using cattle panels to tie tomatoes to, but you know, this year I kind of need to get by on the cheap. Not really in the budget to go out and buy a whole bunch of cattle panels. Our cattle panels are out there as a fence, so you know, in the future I might choose to use cattle panels or something that I can just install and plant the tomatoes by. Growing up, we used cattle panels for lots of things. Specifically, the tomatoes are pole beans. We've used some hog panels to tie up peppers next to. Those are very versatile investments that you can make for your homestead or your garden. You just have to have a place to store them, and obviously the funds to buy them in the first place, or maybe you can buy some that have been gently used by other people. But this is the way that you can tie up your tomatoes on the cheap, and it seems to work very well. See that little bumblebee there. I have not seen a whole lot of honeybees this year. Last year they were everywhere. I don't know if we don't have people that have hives nearby this year or what the deal is. So hopefully we'll get decent pollination on the things that actually need pollinating. Like our zucchini. Look at that. And the little second plantings are coming up. Well, there it is, all done. Now, as I said, as these tomatoes grow, I will have to continue to add additional strings above where I already have them. But the 3 strings, or I should say 3 rows of strings, seem to be just about perfect height for most of the tomatoes. You can see over here that I actually will need more strings here very shortly. But I'm going to let them sit here like this and continue to grow, and probably here in a few days I'll tie them up some more. Well, when I was done with the tomatoes, I did a little bit of weeding, but I discovered that the soil has gotten a little bit too dry. So I'm in the process of watering, and hopefully today or tomorrow, later on, I'll be able to do some weeding. You can see here that there's not a whole lot of weeds except for the prairie grass that needs to be taken out. I'll probably use my horseshoe hoe. That hopefully will loosen that up, and pretty much this is ready to go for a while. Need to weed the tomatoes. What you're seeing there in the underneath the tomatoes is not all weeds. I have radishes and cilantro planted under there, but the weeds are real small, so I'll either let them grow or make sure that I have it thoroughly watered so that I don't tear up the understory plants that I've got planted in there. But everything's looking really good. Today I've got the these big aerial sprinklers set up. It's just so dry out here. In fact, it's probably a little bit hot to water, but the problem is hand watering just does not put down enough water. I'd have to stand in one spot forever. So I'm getting these watered for a little bit, and then I'll water them again probably first thing in the morning. That way they can actually take in the water. So anyway, that's what's going on. Everything looks like it's doing great. I've got the corn and pumpkins being watered as well off of another hydrant. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please like it. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right now. And we'll see you on another day. Thanks. Bye.